everyone. Welcome, Niraj. Fantastic to have you on the show today.
Pleasure to be here.
I'm so excited as this is the first episode on breathwork, and it's actually something I've only been practicing for maybe a year or so it's quite recent. And I think it's such an amazing, I don't think the word tool is the right word, but it's such an amazing practice anyway. And I'd love to begin with how it can help us to reconnect with ourselves. I heard you talk on a podcast interview how breathwork really helped you to sort of reconnect with yourself, reconnect with the truth. And I feel that this is super powerful, and I'd love to hear your thoughts as how breathwork can help you to reconnect with yourself.
Yeah, so let's define what that actually means, reconnect with yourself. Like, what does that actually mean? So, there's probably different perspectives on that, but it really means like know thyself, right? To get back in touch with your truth. So that's actually been a whole part of spiritual tradition and practice for forever, right? So that's what actually these spiritual practices are for, is this self-discovery. Majority of them are, especially the ones from my culture in India, yoga and, the kind of Hindu philosophy is all about know thyself. So the way that breath can help you do that is, firstly, you can understand that with just simple breathing techniques, you get the power back over your own body, right? So you're probably wondering why have I got this little bit of tissue in my nostril. But I woke up this morning with a bit of a runny nose, okay? I've got a baby here, and it's also kind of very humid and cold and damp. And me being brown, I'm not from this climate. I'm from a tropical climate, right? So I tend to have a more prone to these sorts of runny noses in certain seasons. So this is like the Vata seasons, the cold, damp season in Ibiza. So one trick is you just block your left nostril, right? And just breathing it out for your right. And just doing that stops the runny nose. Within like 5 minutes, it's gone. And it may look a bit weird, right? But it's magic. It works like magic for me. But in a few minutes, it's gone, and I can take it out, and I'll be all right. So it's really cool, because what it does is, the problem is the left nostril is more sensitive to cold and damp, all right? And that can trigger it to get more runny. And your left nostril is also connected to your parasympathetic nervous system, okay? Your right nostril is connected to your sympathetic, which is your left brain. It's the masculine brain, and it's what deals with reason, logic, day-to-day tasks, but also digestion, digestive fire. So actually, if you want to digest food better, you also want to have your right nostril active, because your nostrils switch dominance every few hours throughout the day. So this is profound knowledge, because it means you can turn on and off your nervous system at will. And that's just one of the powers of the breath, right? Just understanding which nostrils connect to which certain nervous system and how it switches throughout the day and what it's more sensitive to. And in the tantric yogic text, it also talks about which activities are better to do when each nostril is active, right? So there's certain activities you do with the right nostril, certain activities you do with the left, which is this is called swara yoga, right? But you can manipulate this as well, as I'm doing right now. So all of this gives you some incredible power over your life, right? And your environment, okay? So it really, understanding yourself really starts with learning how your body works, because in this Eastern tradition, it's also foolish to try and control your mind through your mind. It's much easier through your body, the SOMA, hence the name SOMA Breath of our school, and somatic practice. You may have heard that word, somatic, right? So it's much smarter to understand the body, how it works, if you want to control your mind. Because if you think about, like, when you're sick, like, your mood's down, how does it affect your decisions? How does it affect your energy levels, your vibration you're giving out? So your mood changes a lot based on your states and how you think and your quality of life and everything. What you attract and your level of success is a lot determined by your vitality, your mojo, I call it, right? Your energy, vitality. But with the breath, because the breath is the bridge between the mind and the body, okay? Also the spirit, I would say. With the breath, because it's the thing that runs on autopilot, but we also have conscious control over. We can control all the things that happen on autopilot in the body. So things like your nervous system, switching from left and right, your heart rate, your immune system, even your digestion. So many different functions that are rhythmic in nature that change throughout the day. We can actually bring more harmony and balance to them, because life throws us off balance, and this affects our mood and our well-being, and then our level of taking action to get what we want. Because ultimately your success depends on how much action you're willing to take, right? Or able to take, right? And your perception of what you can and can't have. So these are all the things that determine your quality as an entrepreneur as well. And let's talk about manifesting. So manifesting is something that also spiritual schools are all about, if you think about it, right? But nowadays, like the law of attraction, all that stuff has become super popular. But the key word in that is action. But what's the difference between people taking action and not? Is because of all these beliefs that we have and our mojo, how much energy we've got, vitality, and also the belief in something higher than themselves. Because one of the things that I've found amongst all the very successful people I know, and I know a lot now, like super high level entrepreneurs who run major companies, some billionaires, many millionaires and celebrities and so on, is that the majority of them have a belief in something beyond themselves, that they're guided by some higher power, right? This is very, very common. And it's probably why I get on with so many of these types of people. But what that means is that you get such a conviction that you're in this flow, right? That I call it the divine flow, that anything you do, the universe is conspiring to make it happen. It tends, this optimism about opportunity and possibility about the world, not just seeing the doom and gloom everywhere, is what really drives people forward. But they also have something else, the mojo. So they have a lot of sexual energy, they have a lot of fire, they have a lot of spice, juice. If you're around very, very successful people, they're magnetic, their personalities usually, right? I haven't met many who aren't like that, right? There's the rare occasions, but usually not, right? So when you combine that together, this divine flow and mojo, you get flojo, so I call it. And the breath, what I've created is a series of different techniques, gives you this ability to get into this state, right? After a ceremony type experience that we create, right? At the end of it, you can go away with more awareness of who you truly are, because breathwork changes your state to a way where you can see your past in a new way, you know, from the old way. The old way is what got you to where you are now, but if you can change your relationship with the past, you get more excited about the future and make peace with the past and all the blocks and things that hold you back. And you can also cultivate energy, because with breathwork, it's the way breathing is how we produce energy in the body. So the whole system of breathwork, the real system, the one which is more like what we do in tantric yoga, pranayama, which is more like a pharmacy. It's not just one technique, you know, of conscious connected breathing that breathwork's kind of been confused with. Breathwork to me is this whole library of different methods of controlling energy in the body. So, and in fact, pranayama means energy control. So with that, we can increase our vitality, our energy, our drive, our concentration, our somatic power, right? And intelligence too. So that's something you can get if you start this process of getting into breathwork using these techniques. You can get to these places. We have all the practices to do that. We have whole courses. We have systems of doing that, like our 21-day awakening journey. We have instructors who we train to facilitate these retreats and experiences. Now we've got over 2,500 around the world. But I'll tell you what, like for breathwork, I had no flow because I became atheist and I hated life. I had no mojo because I was sick with a chronic autoimmune disease, shitting blood 40 times a day. So I always say to people, look, if I can do it, seriously, I was like not going anywhere in life, then I think most people can do it, because there's not that much different from most other people, especially people who are entrepreneurs who already got something going and maybe they've hit a bit of a plateau, right? If you learn this stuff now, it will stop you from getting to where I was, because I got really, really down a spiral of negativity and got burnt out and almost died in the process. So I want to help entrepreneurs get before they crash and burn, because they don't know themselves. They're manifesting what they don't want. I want to help people manifest what they really want, right? That's what Breathwork helps you do. Discover that truth. Meditation does too. But then have the energy and drive to go and do it. So they go out and do great things rather than manifesting all this wealth, money, but being surrounded by tons of people that they don't connect with, they don't resonate with, filled with stuff, mortgages, bills they can't really pay because it's all an illusion. And then boom, they have one bad month with the business and everything crashes and burns. I've been there, and you don't want to go there, right? It's horrible. So my whole point is like to try and give that wellness power back to entrepreneurs.
Well, if I wasn't already sold on breathwork, you would definitely have sold me there. And I feel that the way you were, the way you were saying energy in the body, and I've definitely seen the link between being in that state of flow, feeling like the universe conspires with you and everything flows naturally, it being that abundance mindset. And I've also been obviously on the reverse side, scarcity mindset, everything's not working, everything's shutting down, and the whole world feels small. And what you said about it's in our body and not in our mind. And so often we come back to our mind and our thoughts and why am I thinking this? And I should think it this instead, or I should do this action, or why am I demotivated, etc., etc. And then you go for a breathwork session or a long walk or meditation break or drink more water or something. And then, or even just stand up, and then you feel you're energized again. So I feel that this link and connection with the body is something that many of us don't actually think about often enough.
Yes, fully.
I think that it's probably the key. So I'm putting myself in the shoes of someone listening to this who's maybe never practiced breath work, who wants to begin. What would you say would be the first steps they could take to begin their breathwork journey and to start to incorporate this maybe in daily rituals or weekly rituals? I also love to hear your thought and perspectives around building some habits to have this a bit more regularly in our life so we can keep this mojo and energy high.
Yeah. So the very first thing I would do is I would learn the science and the art of normal breathing, like how to breathe when you're not doing any special techniques, right? Throughout the day. This will make the number one impact in your health, your energy, your vitality, your mojo, more than anything else, right? So there are some schools of thought already that exist. There's the Buteyko method, which is all about this. That's 100% what it's about. And we are very much kind of aligned with that, because Buteyko learn all these techniques from yoga and pranayama. And I've just gone back to the source of pranayama. So what this is like a system of different techniques that will normalize your breathing so that throughout the day, your default breathing is more healthy. Now, a lot of people think that they take it for granted that breathing is already healthy. Like, you know, what's so complicated about breathing? But actually, there's some serious issues if you breathe wrong, because if you hyperventilate, if you over breathe, right, meaning you breathe more than you actually need to, it's like just like food. If we consume more food than we actually need to, it causes serious problems to the health, right? We all know this. Overeating, overconsumption of calories, sugar, which is heavily dense in calories, certain like refined, foods, it makes us sick, right? It's obvious, the science is out there, but not many people are aware that the same thing goes with breathing. If you breathe heavier and harder than you actually need to, than your body needs, you create like an inner fire and you screw up the energy centers of your cells, the mitochondria. And you also, with hyperventilation, you might think that deep, heavy breathing gets you more oxygen into your body tissue cells. Actually, you get less, right? Because you breathe out the most important gas, CO2. Carbon dioxide is the signal that tells your blood where to drop off oxygen, right? That's why when you exercise, if you do dumbbell curls, right, when you produce more CO2 in your blood in that area, so the oxygen when you breathe in goes to the area of the muscles that you use during the exercise, right? Rather than going everywhere. Otherwise, that wouldn't be very efficient. So CO2 is very, very powerful stuff, and it's very important. But when we breathe out CO2. So if we breathe too fast, we let go of this very important signal. That's a serious problem, all right? So this is one of the primary causes of, I would say, a majority of diseases is overbreathing, bad breathing habits. Mouth breathing gets rid of way too much CO2, too fast a rate, all right? Nose is what's designed to breathe. It filters the air and it conditions the air, and it also means you breathe into your lower lungs where your parasympathetic receptors are and where the absorption of oxygen happens much more efficiently, right? If you breathe into your chest, right? A lot of people do this when they're talking, right? If they're giving presentations, podcasts, they might do that a lot. I do that sometimes unconsciously because it's a bad habit. And you'll find you get lightheaded, right? But if during a podcast as well, if you're doing a presentation, speaking on stage, if you actually heavy breathe, like some people do this and talk like that, right? With this movement, and they're like, that's actually hyperventilation. And what that does, breathe out a load of CO2, you start losing your train of thought, you get dizzy. Look, I just started to almost feel that just now. So you want to try and do light breaths when you talk, right? So this, look, when I'm talking, I'm hardly breathing. In fact, I am mostly exhaling because I'm just breathing out. I've got such a long exhale time now, right? I've got this funny video because I've trained myself. Everyone can do it. But where I did a challenge where I did an inversion, I did a headstand, and I did an ORM that lasted 1 minute and 11 seconds or something in one breath. I told everyone try and do it. I mean, no one's done it yet, but it was a funny little challenge. But yeah, so what I'm saying is if you can extend your exhale, it's a sign that you don't need much oxygen. And the less oxygen you need, the more efficient you are at creating energy. And oxygen is what makes us age, actually. Oxidative stress is what makes us age, okay? We're just like car engines. Like cars, the way they produce energy in the engine is an oxidative reaction, right? It's an oxygen burning fuel, creates heat, fire, drives the pistons. But the same thing's going on in mitochondria, very similar. And that's what burns inside. That's why we get hot when we exercise. And that makes us age, oxidative stress, okay? So slowing your breathing down, also, not only does it minimize oxidative stress, but it also gets oxygen into your body tissue cells because you breathe out less CO2, right? And low body tissue oxygenation is what causes most diseases. So just by correcting, normalizing your breathing, let's say somebody suffered a lot from very heavy congested sinuses or asthma, that's gone. High blood pressure is gone. Even like chronic pain, tension, a lot of that is due to hyperventilation, overbreathing, because CO2 relaxes you, oxygen contracts you, right? So people with very busy minds, they tend to hyperventilate because your mind is a mirror of your breath as well. So if you've got a very active, busy, crazy mind, you'll breathe faster. If you've got a calm, relaxed mind, which is what you want to be actually if you want to make good decisions as an entrepreneur, you want a relaxed mind. So if you're a relaxed person, you perform better generally, but you will also breathe slower, and that will mean you're getting more oxygen to your body tissue cells. So that's why it's so important to normalize your breathing. A lot of people who are entrepreneurs don't have any idea about this, and they are working really hard. They're stressed out, they're over-breathing, they're getting blood pressure issues, they're getting diabetes, which is another symptom of this. They're getting all the stress-related metabolic issues. And then if you compound that with overeating, right? Eating in a hurry, not chewing, your stomach doesn't have teeth, so it has to do all this extra work to digest food. And also eating heavily puts pressure on the diaphragm and it deepens the breath. It makes you hyperventilate naturally. Try it sometime. No, don't try it. But you'll know what I mean if you overeat, and you'll feel that you have to breathe harder, deeper. And then this is taught to be a good thing. Do deep breaths after you eat and all this. And actually it's not. You don't need to breathe too much. All right? So So all of these little tips, I'm just showing you illustrating the point that we need to bring oxygen under control, need as less oxygen as possible because it's like fire in the body, right? It makes us age, but it also gives us life. So it's this weird toxic codependent relationship we got with it. And CO2 we need to make into our friend because it's been vilified for so long. All the media is just coming, like giving a really bad rep. You know, apparently it's going to end the world because of global warming. And it's some toxic waste gas, so we must breathe it all out, right? It's all bollocks, all right? It's probably going to be a bit controversial for some people, but actually CO2 makes plants grow. Without CO2, we don't get trees, okay? And actually the atmosphere is only 0.04% CO2. It's tiny. And man-made CO2 is only 1% of it. There was this crazy article that was said by I think it was even in The Guardian, that was about how some expert now says that humans breathing is causing global warming because of the CO2. Like, so what are they going to do, right? Cull the population? Or maybe they're already having a go at that. So, so make CO2 your friend and bring oxygen under control, because that's that kind of weird relationship, you know, that love-hate, you know, it's like you have to be with them for the rest of your life, but you want to kill them sometimes, right? And they want to kill you. So, yeah, so that's the whole thing. That's what normalizing breathing is all about. Then I would move into more advanced breath sessions after that point. So we have a 21-day course, the 21-day awakening journey, that helps you do all of that. But we start with, now I recommend our Breathwork course to normalize your breathing, that teaches you all the physical health activities you can do, all the little ancient biohacks for improving your mojo. And then the awakening journey is all about getting to your divine flow. But it will also improve your energy and vitality. It's epic. And it will take you on this epic journey to self-discovery. And that's where we learn about who we truly are. And also provide a tool, this Ayurvedic test, that shows your bio-individuality, right? So Ayurveda, in my opinion, is the ultimate medical science that gives you the complete picture of how the mind-body works, that we're holistic and we're not just compartmentalized, like what the mainstream medical system has really very dreadfully got wrong. And with the Ayurvedic system, you find out that there's no one size fits all. So what with this system, you fill out a questionnaire, and it will give you a report that will give you a custom lifestyle program based on who you are. Okay? And it's based on this Ayurvedic system. It's a long explanation. I probably save it for another time. But you can go check it out. All the information on our website. It's very simple, easy to do. But that goes with what we teach, because then you can start to choose which techniques work for you. Or you can use one of our transformational coaches who can guide you through a whole coaching program based on your individuality. They'll also interpret the report for you and show how it works. So it's very, very powerful system. Yeah. Very,
Amazing.
very good.
Amazing. Yeah. And I think it's fantastic that you have different courses, so people who are interested and want to get on board and want to work on it. Often we get paralyzed with so many options. So when you actually listen to someone, you think, okay, this makes sense. I actually do want to do something about it. It's fantastic to have a direct action. And what you were saying about learning how to breathe and that we're breathing wrong reminds me of when I sort of got into the whole breath and breath work journey, maybe like I said, about a year ago. And I read Breath by James Nestor, also saw him in Stockholm at an event. And that's when I started taping my mouth when I sleep and closing my mouth when I exercise. And for all the people listening, well, first of all, yes, it's amazing. Also, I recommend the book Breath by James Nestor. And do start taping your mouth when you sleep. If you have a tendency to sleep with an open mouth, it did wonders. I think I need on average an hour less sleep every single night. Or let's put it this way. For the same amount of hours, I feel a lot more rested. So if I used to sleep 8.5, and I still sleep 8.5, I'll wake up way more refreshed. I mean, who would have known, right? Like just putting a small piece of tape on your mouth can make your sleep so much deeper.
Totally, it's amazing. Yeah. This is very, because a lot of people's health problems come from sleep. Sleep in yogic tradition is considered the most detrimental time of the day or night. And so, because we're unconscious. So we're not consciously controlling our breathing. And therefore, if we're very stressed when we go to sleep, we're going to hyperventilate in our sleep. Or if we are too hot in the room, we'll hyperventilate. Or if we lie on our back, and sometimes people roll over onto their back by, just how it happens, some kind of vivid dream they're having, and they start hyperventilating, right? So this snoring as well is associated with lying on your back. A lot of people lie on their backs, start snoring and coughing and get tickly cough and things like that. So simply changing your sleeping position and using tape, for example, if you're somebody who snores or has this need to sleep like 10 hours. Some people sleep like 10 hours. I'm like, that is like half the day almost gone. Imagine if you could get 5 hours back. How cool would that be? Like, I sleep about 5 hours now, right? So it's like, imagine if you only need to sleep 5 hours. I mean, sometimes, if we're having a cuddle session with my wife, it goes on a bit longer, but I can't sleep too long. If I go to sleep at 11, I'm up at like, okay, let's say 6 hours, 5 a.m. usually, 5:30, 6 a.m. So, and that goes down depending on where I am. Like if I'm at home, I need less sleep. If I'm traveling, my rhythms get messed up a bit. I know a lot of entrepreneurs instead are probably nomads as well, travel a lot. So that affects sleeping a lot. And, your time cycles, your biorhythms, all of this. So having these practices, right, will make a huge difference to things like jet lag, to sleeping in different unusual environments, having more energy when you wake up, getting excited about the mornings. One of the reasons why people don't get excited about the day is because their sleeping is so bad, right? The quality of sleep is so bad that they don't want to get out of bed because it's just so tired. They might have a dry mouth and feeling like shit. So, so I've been there. I had all of these problems when I was younger, right? So changing, and plus on top of that, university was like hangover central. So, like, I don't know how, that's the crazy culture in the UK. Like, people still drink copious amounts. It's definitely less than it used to be in my time. But it's the most detrimental thing you can do to your health is to drink loads of alcohol and wake up half in a coma, right? It's crazy. And people do that, like, relentlessly, like almost every night or weekend. And that was me. So if you change all of these bad habits and you bring in some breathing exercises, the breathing exercise as well, when you start to do normalized breathing techniques, the side effect of it is you start becoming sensitive to, this is all coming back to your question about connecting with yourself. You start becoming more sensitive to things that aren't good for you, right? Because you start to feel suddenly now pleasure and bliss. And you get into a high state and you're like, well, I don't want to leave this state. And then you know that if you eat a certain food, it's going to bring you down. Or if you drink a certain drink, it's going to take you off your flow. So you stop doing all that shit. You start to do more of the things that make you feel good. So this is a big part of getting back in touch with yourself, is to know what makes you feel blissed. A lot of people don't know what pleasure feels like anymore. They forgot. Right? Real pleasure. I'm not talking about that, a cocaine hit or anything like that. I'm talking about genuine pleasure from just living, right? So what we do with SOMA Breath is all about that, bringing back people into their bodies to understand the SOMA, how the body works, to understand the science, so they're super informed, because this is our hardware. This is basically, imagine you're a super efficient computer, right? Your hardware is your physical body, okay? And your operating system is your mind, your mindware, okay? I mean, there's an expression that goes, where is your mind, never mind, because most people don't know. But just as a general analogy, right? Hardware, software, it seems to work. It's quite relatable. But think about PCs. PCs, especially if you don't know how to use them properly, right? Because you don't understand your own hardware and operating system, they get filled with viruses. They get screwed with viruses, right? So that's why I went from PC to Mac, and I got to really know the Mac so that I don't get any viruses ever, and it runs like a machine. So with SOMA Breath, the idea is you go from a PC basically Bill Gates to still Steve Jobs, Apple, right? I mean, just compare the two people. I'd much rather be hanging out with Steve, right? So yeah, so that's what we're about, making beautiful, amazing machines for ourselves that runs like magic and creates even more magic in the world, right? Rather than clogged down, boring viruses that break down and slow down and don't do anything productive in the world. Yeah.
I feel that a lot of people don't realize the power of the breath, or that they're over breathing. I certainly didn't until I read that book. And then the coherent breathing 5 in, 5 out, and more regularly, and not as much inhaling. Like you said, not too much oxygen. And in general, I think people underestimate and or forget the body, and they often think the problems are with their mind or their motivation, or and I often ask them, and actually this is a very slight deviation, but I was a guest at a wedding 6 months ago, and I was speaking with this woman who said she had very low motivation and she was struggling with fatigue in the afternoon. And I asked her, "Do you eat sugar?" And I don't know why. It just came to me. I think, "Do you eat, a lot of cakes?" And she said she did. She said there were quite a lot in the office. And I said, I think that could have a big impact on your energy levels. And it was a really random comment, but the reason I'm bringing it up is because 6 months later, she wrote to me a message on LinkedIn, and she said, "You might not remember our conversation, but it really marked me. I quit all sugar, and her energy levels really picked up." And I was like so happy. I thought, I just randomly mentioned this. It would be like you saying, maybe you're over breathing and focus a bit more on your breath. And, bath takes in the evening, and then 6 months later, someone says, "My energy's super high. It really worked."
Yeah. I know we get like my favorite part of the day is waking up to the testimonials that we get. Like every day, there's like another crazy testimonial or two, and usually from our instructors who send them to me. Say, "Hey, look at this case study." So that's like super cool seeing that.
Amazing. It's amazing. I just want to finish on what you said earlier about our alternating nervous system during the day, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. And I'm thinking about all the entrepreneurs out there that are probably in sympathetic mode all day long. And I wonder, what do you feel people can do to be more in tune with the natural rhythms that naturally occur in our body, going from parasympathetic to sympathetic nervous system, to not be in sort of that constant state of stress, basically?
Okay, so the problem with that is that you need to know the cause of the stress. So you're going to be in a constant state of stress if you've created an environment that is full of stress, okay? Or if you perceive the environment as stressful, right? So some people thrive in that. They see everything as a positive challenge, right? And they may have loads of crazy things going on at the same time, which another person might be like, "Oh my God, this is insane. This is overwhelming." So this is a whole part of know thyself, is what is really stressful to you, right? And if your life is genuinely like stressful, you're constantly feeling stress, right? What you have to do is be rational. You look at what can be possibly solved on the outside world, right? So I can have more control over the inner world. What you can do is minimize that impact of that stress on the body with breathing exercises, because you can't control everything that's going on outside, but you can control what's going on inside. So what you can also do is change your perception of stress into more of a gift, a challenge. Like that's what happened with me when I had the disease, which was a pretty stressful time. Like I thought I was going to be shitting in a nappy for the rest of my life. And that turned around. I saw the gift that I actually had now, which was if I can heal myself, I can actually be an amazing role model. So some entrepreneurs listen to this. You might be able to turn your challenges into gifts that you can share with your colleagues or your team to make them better. Or you can create a book one day and inspire other people, right? There's many things you can do by changing your perception of your situation, right? There's always a story you can tell one day. So what you can do with breathing techniques, firstly, become aware of your natural patterns, okay? So there are moments of your day when your left nostril is more active than your right, okay? Which is your parasympathetic moments. And it says very clearly in Swara Yoga that avoid activities when this is going on where you have to do a lot of work, because they won't be successful. Like, like intense work, like which requires focus, concentration, because you're going to be in daydream land. It's better to rest in those ways, do more meditative stuff, creative stuff, read a book, listen to music, have a power nap, right? But when your right nostril's active, and it will switch, and usually your right's more active during the day than your left. Okay, your left is the moon, the right is the sun, Surya, and Soma. Okay, so the Soma comes out when the moon comes out, and the Surya is awake when the sun comes out, right? So hence fire and cool, right? Cold. So what you can do is understand the balance, and you can then see how it fluctuates throughout the day, which times of the day the activity is more prevalent, and then go with that dominant nostril and base your schedule around that. That's when you go really deep into this stuff, okay? Or what you can also do is learn how to manipulate the nature to your advantage. So there are techniques where you can switch, like I'm doing right now. I need to do this podcast. I don't want to have a runny nose, okay? Boom, this, stick it in. Within a few minutes, the nose stops running. I had streams of running nose. Now, some people, what they'll do is they'll go to a pharmacist and get decongestion, ephedrine or something like that, right? Sudafed, common one. And they'll bung that down their throats. What does ephedrine do? It's a stimulant. It stimulates sympathetic nervous system, okay? Right, so it turns on the right nostril, okay? So that's one way of stopping the runny nose, okay? But then after a while, the ephedrine has less effect on the body because you get tolerance. You also get something called rebound congestion if you keep doing it, because the drug isn't smart. This is more smart, because I can do this for a bit while I'm doing podcasts and turn it off, right? And go back. There's a reason why my left nostril might be more active than my right. I might be going through a little bit of a cleanse, detoxes. If your mucus is clear, you're just naturally detoxing a little bit. That's what you're doing, right? If it's yellow and greeny, that means you got an infection. You're trying to fight an infection, okay? But or you might have an allergy. So the left nostril is very much connected to the cold, damp, and allergies, and that's why you get runny nose, okay? So, I'm going to put it back in. So these are the things you'll learn. In SOMA Breath, we teach all of this stuff. It's very much about tapping into this inner pharmacy, all right? But then you can also use certain breathing techniques. Let's say you get stressed in the moment, you get triggered in the moment. Extending your exhalation with a subtle inhale, relax exhale, and an automatic pause where you just naturally hold your breath for a few seconds, all right? And then you breathe in again and do your relax inhale and exhale. If you do that, it will calm you down instantly. Or if you breathe in with a deep, full yogic breath into your belly, then your diaphragm very slowly. And then you breathe out very slowly with the longest exhale that you can to your nose, okay? And you just repeat that process, all right? You will also switch on the parasympathetic through the vagus nerve, because when you breathe out, you stimulate parasympathetic. When you breathe in, you stimulate sympathetic. And another thing you could do is rhythmic breathing, where you breathe in and out to a perfect rhythm. This rhythmic breathing brings balance to the body, because, as I said, when you breathe in, sympathetic stimulated. When you breathe out, parasympathetic stimulated. When you breathe in a perfect rhythm, you create harmony and balance, because every function of your body is subservient to the rhythm of your breath, believe it or not. That's why yogic breathing, the foundation is rhythmic breathing. All right? So yeah, this is what we do. This is what we do. We teach all of these things, how to bring the stress response under your control, a lot of the science behind it, how to change your state instantly if you're like low mood, like guilt, fear, anger, by muting that frequency to another frequency of joy, passion, gratitude, whatever you want to feel. These energies, gratitude, for example, wipes out anger and envy, jealousy, things like that. So we use various techniques. I call it neurosomatic programming, the use of words, language, metaphors, and imagery to change the mind's perception of events, right, and experiences, but also engaging the body at the same time into it. So you become your own movie character in your own, real inner reality, right? IR instead of VR, I suppose. So we show you this process, and this can be then turned into daily practices you do that helps you get a daily dose of these hormones, and dose stands for dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins, right? That's the feel-good pleasure hormones that gives you the right state, helps you manifest better, helps you change your brain according to your mind, your control, right? Your conscious control. And this helps you install better thought programs into your operating system. So you run better software for this time, because we all need to upgrade our software to be able to exist in this time and thrive in this time, because it's different all the time. It's constantly changing. We have to be aware of all these changes and keep up with it. So many new skills we need to learn. So this requires us to feel good and be in the right state in order to do that, and have the energy to do that, the motivation. So this is what all this practice does. So we use all these techniques, and I call these energized breath meditations, routines you can do every day. Plus we have somatic therapy techniques like shaking, dance, ecstatic dance, what I call breath raves. All right, using a breath and cool music gets you into a super cool state. There's like alternatives to like normal mainstream recreational pursuits. A lot of people go out and get wasted on a night out to have a good time, right? And forget about their day, right? Especially alcohol. And I've been there too. But basically, there's a better way, a more holistic way, and a more ceremonial way that we do with ecstatic dance. And you've experienced a bit of that, all right? So there's so much we can do with the breath. It starts with the breath, but then there's so much we can do when we get back into the body, because through learning to control the body, we can control the mind. That's my biggest learning I've received in my life, because I was one of those guys years ago where all my body was this tool to carry my head around. Right, that was it. Because that was what was more active, right? And before that, when I was a kid, I was really athletic. I played loads of sports. I played competitive sports, and I used to feel really good as a kid. Then I went to university, and it all went to shit. Because that uni culture in England is terrifying. Like, I could not imagine going back to that ever again. Like, it's insane what we used to do, like lighting up 15 shots of tequila, smashing each one down, and then going out. It's like and then having like 1 pound pints. I don't know how I did it. All my friends were Irish and Welsh and insane, like Brummies, because I was in Cardiff University. I don't know how I'm still alive, but that's the remarkable power of the body as well. Every 7 years, your body completely transforms and heals itself, right? So we're a new person every 7 years, completely, from a cellular level. There's a few heart cells and brain cells are the same, but majority of us changes. So that gives us hope. Like, if you're sick, if you've been an alcoholic, if you've been a drug addict, and you're filled with all that shit, we can change the hardware. We can upgrade it. Take some time, some practice, some effort, but it's possible. And we see it every day. Like, so many people changing much quicker than I took, because we fast tracked to what we do now. But yeah.
Amazing. And I was smiling when you were talking about the ecstatic dance, because I remembered when you were DJing at Nomad Fest, which is where we met, and it was fantastic. And I remembered the song when we were all saying, "I love my life," and so I just smiled because that song came back to me. It actually came back to me a few weeks ago. I was like, "Yeah, where did I hear that?" And I was like, "Oh yes, there was Niraj DJing at Nomad Fest." And
It's my track.
Yes,
my track.
Is it? That's your track that you did?
Yeah.
So
I produced that, yeah. And all the music is SOMA Breath. Majority of it is produced by myself, and quite a few of the amazing tracks are collaborations with amazing musicians that we have.
Because you have that DJ background. So now you're able to do that in a more holistic, healthy way. I mean, I was sober that night and I had a great time. So
Yeah.
that we can have fun and enjoy and be full of life without getting drunk and having 15 shots of tequila, which is a
Oh
really...
my God. I don't know how I used to do it. Insane.
Okay, just before we go, I know we've already passed our time, but just a few words on your book. I know your book is coming out soon in the upcoming months. I'd love to hear a few things about your upcoming book.
Yeah, the book's called Breath Works. So it's a play on breathwork. And it really is a book that shows you how the breath works for so many different things with all the tools, techniques. It's not just theory, all the application too, and my crazy stories of breathwork and how it's proven to me that the breath works time and time again. So it's got quite an interesting read. I'm really excited to get it out there. And it's pretty deep. So, you might need to read it a few times. But I think you're going to go away feeling very enlightened and you're going to have like a lot of knowledge. It's like a PhD in breathing condensed down into a book on how to now start understanding that we've had a secret power underneath our nose this whole time. There we go.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Niraj. Thank you for all the input and also the science behind everything and inspiring people to actually tune into the power of their own body and not always seek it either through their mind or even externally, and find that sense of, like you said, bliss, pleasure, joy, fulfillment, inner connection through the breath. I think it's absolutely amazing. Love the work you do. Love the breathwork session and the DJ session that I had at Nomad Fest. So happy to have you on the show today.
Beautiful. Absolute pleasure. The stuff.
Thank you.